Hi, everybody. I wanted to introduce you to Robbin McManne. She is a certified parent coach. I've actually taken her programs before and they're amazing. And Robin, it's just so wonderful to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
I am so glad that you're here. And it was really interesting because, I am such a super fan of yours. You've had been coached by me in your business. And through
Mhm.
that, we had this just incredible connection. And I think that
Mm,
comes from this fact that I know that you care so, so much about parents and kids. And you
mm.
also totally get what it's like to be an entrepreneur and like all of the stresses that come with that and how that can affect parenting. So,
Yes.
what do you think, like, even in the last year for entrepreneurs, what do you think has changed for parents that has really challenged them? So, if you're a parent and you're listening and you're like, oh my gosh, the last year, put 10 gray hairs in my head. For those who owned a business, like, what do you think are some of the major contributions to that feeling?
Wow. I think there's a few things. One is just the fact that everybody is home. Everybody's home. Where what right now at this moment, I'm sitting here and my husband is across the hall from me. We had to install doors so that we could have some quiet between us as he works and I work. Kids are home as well. And that's a lot. So having everybody home, then homeschooling, making sure that your child is doing okay in school, and the stress and overwhelm that comes with that. And then there is also the business side of things, the stress of, can I keep my business going when so many businesses are going under? How do I keep myself relevant? How do I keep my clients in a time when people are cutting back? I think there's a lot of stress there. And let's be honest, when we are stressed in our business or we're stressed with our family, those things, infect each other, right? Let's
Yeah.
just use virus theming. But they cross contaminate, and we have to be really careful not to bring our troubles from work into our family and our troubles from family into our work.
Yeah. Gosh, like how do you prevent that? Like I know there's so many times where I'm like, I just need to record this podcast and they're coming and looking for me because they had yet another random half day, which I forgot about or something like that. Like in that moment, what are some of the things that we can do to really mitigate stress? Because it's not their fault. They're trying to find us. In fact, it's kind of sweet when you think about it and you're not trying to record a podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's the thing, the good thing is that podcasts are editable,
Right.
and so like, let's be real about it, right? So let's say your kids came in right now, we could edit that out. It wouldn't be so bad. Plus, the great thing is that I also think that, we all know that we're dealing with kids being home. And so I'm the same professional. It's just that my kids are home, so that's one. And of course, here's the thing, like I think that we catastrophize these situations sometimes,
Right.
right? And they're not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
To say that it's not an inconvenience, it's not frustrating. So I would just say, hold on a second, like take a second. Parenting is not an emergency.
Yeah.
And so your kids coming in, I know that if I saw your kids come in and they're littler than mine, I have two teen boys, so they're not just going to randomly come in if, they're unlike yours will come in because they're smaller, is to just not freak out. That would be the go-to. I know that I would see your kids come in and I would say, "Oh, it's just Laura's kids. No problem. How cute is this?" You, on the other hand, would be freaking out, right? Like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm gonna get them out of here. What are they gonna say?" All that stuff. And I think that's really important for you to know that it's not as big of a deal for other people as it is for you, and for you to
Yes.
take a moment, take a breath, really truly take a breath. Sounds cliche, but it's not. What you're doing when you take a breath is you're calming down your nervous system. And that
Mhm.
allows you to react, actually, I should say respond and not react in that moment. So you can calmly say to your kids, you can say to me, Robin, just a minute, we'll edit this out. And I got to go get my kids hooked up for a show, or, back with their babysitter, or no babysitters around. I got to figure something out for them. Just one second. I think, I think we just have to ask for some grace. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's so good. And the other day I was teaching a class to everybody who paid in full for the advance, which is a couple
Mm,
$1,000s. And I felt really committed and dedicated to that
yeah.
teaching because I was thinking, gosh, these people paid in full. They put aside the time, right? I'm having all of these conversations about how much I care about the people in that membership and the experience that they have with their pay in full offer with me. And it was just, my son came in, my puppy was sleeping underneath the desk. He came in, he riled her up. He's looking for my attention. She's losing her puppy mind because he comes in and out. And I couldn't even remember what I was talking about. And I felt so bad, right? I felt so bad for the people listening. I felt so bad for him because, it wasn't his fault. He's just looking for me and he wants to see the puppy after school. And afterwards, I was so flustered and I was thinking, like, why am I so flustered here? I was even comparing myself to people who, whose kids interrupt them and they don't get flustered. But like, what are some of the things that we experience as entrepreneurs as this is going down? Like, break it down for me, because I think probably everybody listening is having these moments if they have,
Okay.
curious children.
Yeah, I just want to say what a relief it would be to see you, somebody who's in a position of leadership, somebody who is sharing wisdom with eager people like me who just want to take it all in. How refreshing is that to see that you're human too? I just
Yeah.
want to say that, like, first and foremost, you're human too. Do you know how often that happens to the rest of us? You
Right.
know, where I'm trying to do something and my dog breaks through the doors because he can get through, and immediately he goes to barking on the chair that I have in the corner here.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
so I just want you to know that that's normal. It's
Mhm.
okay. And yes, you're flustered because all eyes are on you. When you're in
Right.
the spotlight, it's hard to not, but I think it's okay to say, you know what, everybody, hold on a second. I'm so sorry. I got flustered. I just need to go back to my notes for a minute. Why don't
Right.
we have a 5-minute break?
Yeah.
5-minute tea break, coffee break, water break. Let me get myself collected. That was unexpected. Can I ask you to give me a minute? I think people would be so happy to give you a minute and understand fully. And again, be grateful to you that you were just open and honest and real, because we have to stop pretending we're perfect. We are not perfect. And that is, perfection is the thief of joy,
Right.
right?
That's such
Yeah.
such great advice. For so many entrepreneurs, I've heard heard them say things like, if it wasn't my kids being crazy, I could focus more on my business. Or I feel like
Mm,
I'm always trying to balance between my business and my family. Or I feel like when I'm with my business, my kids need me. And when I'm with my kids, my business needs me. Like, w- when you're helping entrepreneurs kind of learn how to be better parents, which is ultimately what you do best, what are some of the ways in which they can navigate just feeling that pull? Because I know for sure I feel it all the time.
yeah. And I do too. And I have boundaries. I have pretty strong boundaries.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important. And that doesn't mean that boundaries are easy, because it will upset some people, right? It's like carving out time, carving, it hurts, it's hard, and it's what's best for you. I think you need to have boundaries for when you start and you stop your work, so
Yeah.
that you just, so that that is when you can fully transition to be with your kids. I also think there needs to be a transition time between when you stop work to be with your family and your kids.
Mhm.
So here's how it looks like for me, and this is what I would say to any entrepreneur who has a family. And most entrepreneurs do, at least female entrepreneurs do have family, because that was the whole reason that they became
Right.
an entrepreneur, was to spend time with their family, right?
Right.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And so we need to have a time where we honor an end time of our day. And of course, when you have that end time, it has to be sacred. You have to abide by that,
Yeah.
because it will actually make you more efficient. The longer you work, the less efficient you are.
Right.
So you have that end time, right? And by 2 o'clock, let's say your end time is 4 o'clock. By 2 o'clock, you're like, okay, I got X, Y, and Z to finish. I'm nowhere near that. I better motor to be done by 4. And then when you're done at 4 o'clock, I want you to check in with yourself. And I want you to say, okay, let's look at what my day was like. What am I carrying right now from my day? Were sales not as good? Did my client did they seem disappointed in the advice that I gave them, or are they struggling harder? Whatever it is, what am I bringing that I don't want to give to my family?
Yeah.
And so notice that, right? Give yourself a moment to let it go, do some deep breathing, and then set an intention. I love intentions because where your intentions go, your thoughts go, your actions and reactions go, right? And your words will also go. So for you to say, my intention is to not let my day become something I take out on my kids, because that's
Right.
easy to do. I know that there's been many times I've yelled at my kids in the past, like, where my boss was not nice and I took it out on my kids, right? I don't want anybody to do
Absolutely.
that. It's not fair.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I don't want to interrupt, but
Mm.
who hasn't had that moment where somebody treated you terribly and then you snap at your kids,
Yeah.
right? And then you're
No.
like, oh,
And you will spend more time feeling bad and guilty, ashamed
mm-hmm.
because you did that. So spend the time setting the attention, be really purposeful about that. And then it's almost like, I sort of picture like a duck in a pond. You see the two ducks fighting each other, and then they both shake it off, and then they both go to their separate areas
Yeah.
of the pond. Like, shake it off, really shake it
Yeah.
off. Maybe you listen to that song, Shake It Off,
Right.
and then just get yourself in that mode and commit to being fully there for your kids.
Yeah.
If you're not fully there for your kids will sniff it out, and they will know that you're not fully there for them. And that will show up as behavior you want to change, behavior you don't like, behavior that stresses you out. So it is in your best interest to be fully present.
Yeah. Okay. I'm so glad you're bringing this up because this goes into technology. So,
Oh,
so many of us are addicted to our phones. And I often struggle with that balance because my kids will say something like, Laura, you're on your phone, or Mommy, you're on your phone. And there's a part of me that's like, oh, yeah, I definitely, it's time to put the phone away. And there's also part of me that's like, do you like your life? Because it's not free. So, like, so what, and like, there's some days I pick you up at 12 and we spend some time together and it's school day. And there's sometimes we're on my phone at 7 o'clock
mhm.
at night. And like, it's, and I don't know if that's good parenting or not, but every now and then that does come out of my mouth. And
Talk.
I'm like, do you like that nice pool we go to in the summer? Because it's not cheap. So, what are some of the things that you think are general guidelines for us high achieving entrepreneurs who
Mm.
are constantly looking at our phones to try to get as much done as possible?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really good question. Here's the thing. There are times let's say you've transitioned away from the office time and now you're in the evening, or it's a weekend, whatever. You're not going to be focused on your kids the entire time, right? You're not going to be intentionally with them and like the whole time. So I think there's breaks in your day where you can, not sneak off, but you can respond to a Vox or do a quick email. I don't think your kids mind that. I don't think they mind it at all. They don't want us to be with them 24 hours a day anyway.
Thank the Lord.
But
Yeah.
but no, that when we're on the phone, when we're distracted, they actually fear the disconnection. And so that's why they start to ramp up. That's why all of a sudden we're on a phone call and they start fighting, or they
Yeah.
start,
What's that about?
I know it's just the fear of the turning away of our attention from them to something else and somebody else. So we also need to give our kids some empathy and some grace. You
Mhm.
know what, babe? It is hard when mommy's on the phone and you really wanted to show me that picture. I know. I bet you're disappointed that I couldn't just stop that call right now for you to show me what you did. I know, baby. Empathy is so important. Empathy and validating their feelings in the moment. But I think you can also say to your kids too, oh boy, mommy is so busy today. I won't be able to spend as much time with you today. And I know that you might be disappointed. And I just want you to know it's hard for me too. I'm so sorry, baby. It's okay to call it out and say, you know what, the next couple of days are going to be really busy. And I've carved out some special time for us to spend time together on Saturday, you know? So you tell them what's going on, but then you reconnect them by saying, this is when we're going to be together.
Yeah. I love that. And I know something that you also talk a lot about is giving them some say and kind of how things go, right? And giving them
Mm.
some autonomy. I don't know if exactly that's how you would word it, but I'm trying to
Sure.
recall some of the coaching that I learned about in your program. And it was around the idea of like they get to kind of call the shots every now and then. I guess that's probably the best way to put it, right? Is that some of well, tell the listeners a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, I think our kids go through their day getting told no
Yeah.
all the time in a lot of different ways, right? Told no in the fact that, they're not tall enough to reach the sink to wash their hands.
Right.
They're told all day long, let's say we're in regular school times and or your kids are in school or in daycare, when to eat, when they can, sit down, when they have to stand up, when they have to line up, all of this stuff, right? So they really are told what to do on a regular basis. And what happens is that also builds cortisol in their brains, which is the stress hormone, right? And actually that is what creates meltdowns. And sometimes you think, well, I just looked at you and you started crying. Well, that's really, like the straw that broke the camel's back kind of a thing, right? Our kids are emotional and that sort of thing. And so if we can give our kids more yeses and allow them to take ownership of some things too, that makes them feel important. And here's the one thing that I'll say above all else, you can give them some ownership, you can do some different things, but listen to them.
Mm.
Check in with them and say, hey, you know what? If you're upset about this or if you don't like this, if this doesn't work for you, how do we work it out? How should we work it out? And then you listen. You listen deeply to your child. If your child is upset, we want to find out why, right? And then from there, you may find, okay, well, you get to be the boss of dessert every night this week. You get to be the boss of, the music we play in the car. Like, how
Yeah.
fun would that be? Like, let's give them some things to be the boss about that don't matter anyway. Not that they don't matter. That didn't sound very good, but just really things that are open for them to be the boss because they need it, and it'll make them feel really special too if they come up with something and we listen to them and we do it too, and we give them credit for like, yeah, you chose this song. You got great taste in music, bud.
That's
You can tell I have
awesome.
boys. I call everybody bud and buddy.
I love it. Yeah. So, since suggesting that, we do Super Kids Sunday where they get to choose anything that we do on Sunday. And sometimes I'm kind of like, really? But it's
I
so
know.
good because they love it. They love choosing what to
Mhm.
do. They love it being their option. They love deciding where we go for ice cream. Like they
Oh,
basically choose the whole day.
I
And that's been
love.
really, really fun. So,
And those are memories that'll last a lifetime.
mhm.
That's really beautiful. I love it. And do they get to take turns who decides it or do they come up with it together?
Yeah, that's a great question, which I think is going to lead into my last question for you around sibling rivalry. So they decide
Oh,
together, and those of you who are listening and you're relating to this at all, and you might have kiddos. Mine are 7 and 8 boys, and then a 10-month-old girl at the time of this recording. So the two boys, they tend to agree together, but I can't help but wonder if the 7-year-old really does have a say in it.
mm.
So I think alternating would probably be a really good idea. So let's talk about sibling rivalry. Let's talk about what's really happening when the client calls or the Facebook ad goes down and you're like, oh man, I got to pay attention to this right now. Or, I'm thinking about the different entrepreneurial emergencies that can come up. And the they start bickering, they start arguing, they have a like epic fight. What is happening? What is that about?
Well, remember I said they can sniff it out. They know, they can tell that you're stressed and and your attention is fully on something else. And
Yeah.
that does give them anxiety. So here's the thing with sibling rivalry. Sibling rivalry at its core is rivalry for you, for
Mm.
you, for
Yeah.
you and your husband, for you, for your attention, your affection, for your connection, all of that. And we often blame and shame kids for needing attention. They absolutely need attention. It is a core basic human need. And if you do not give them attention, the attention that they need, where you are fully invested in that time and you aren't voxering and you aren't texting and you aren't doing the odd thing. And so that's when you aren't doing those things, when you aren't connecting with them, it will turn into behavior that is unlovable, that is stressful, that you don't like, that you want to change. So what you do is you have to invest in that time already,
Mhm.
right? So they don't now fear the loss of you when you do have a crisis that you need to work out. The other thing is you have to teach your kids to work things out together. Our kids don't come to us, and this maybe speaks to your boys too when they're deciding what to do on Super Fun Sunday. Is that what you call it? Super
I like super fun. We called it super kids, but I like super fun too.
Kids.
Super
Okay.
fun Sunday.
Is our kids don't know how to negotiate. We have to teach them.
Mhm.
Our kids don't know how to sweeten the deal, right? We have to teach them. They don't know how to take turns. We have to teach them, right? So we forget that we need to teach them. We probably don't even know really the way to negotiate anyway. So we need to learn too. So we need to teach them those skills. And whenever there is sibling rivalry, please hear this, everybody that's listening. When your kids are fighting, never pick a side, never pick it based on age or gender. You just want to say, hey guys, the, the situation is the problem, not the people, right? So you would just, and I'm sort of going off to the side with what your question is, because you're asking
It's
when
important.
there is a crisis. So essentially the answer is is more than just a small sort of soundbite for the answer. It is you invest in the time with your kids beforehand, right? And that's sort of the money in the bank, if you will, so that when you are in a crisis mode, you can say, okay, you guys, listen, I need to be in my office for a little bit because something is really important going down. I am feeling worried. I'm feeling stressed right now. And I want you to know that I'm feeling stressed and worried. And it's not about you, that I'm dealing with something, because our kids are egocentric. They will take it as
Yes.
they're wrong, as they caused mommy trouble, right? No. So I like to always speak in the language of feelings and needs, which also normalizes it for our kids and helps to teach them emotional intelligence. So really just say, look, this is what's going on with mommy. I am going to ask you guys to do this and this. Can I count on you to play nicely together? And as soon as I'm done, I will let you know. And then we can get back to playing or we can get back to whatever. So really communicate with them. They can take it. 7 and 8 year olds will respect that, I think, too, right? And that shows that you respect them. And respect begets respect.
Yes. So, so good. All right. These are great tips. And I know you have so many incredible resources available for our listeners. So, if people want to learn more parenting tips specifically for helping them while they're trying to navigate the entrepreneurial journey,
Mm.
what is the best place for them to connect with you?
That's great. Yeah, I have lots of different resources and
Yeah.
lots of different things that you can connect with me on. If you go to yellingcurebook.com, that is really where you can find my book, The Yelling Cure, and my book. I'm really proud of it. You'll get it in an ebook form. It also comes with an audiobook and a parent implementation guide as well. And it's all on how to parent your kids so that you can understand them better, so you get better cooperation and more joy and harmony in your family.
Yes, and we'll put that link in the show notes so anybody who is curious can go to the podcast episode on the blog and click right on it. And Robin, I've read The Yelling Cure. I think it's so good. I think it's so needed. So many of us entrepreneurs are having that extra challenge right now of managing the relationships that mean the most to us while also growing a business, which is in a lot of ways another baby. So I really appreciate you being here. And I know that what you shared today offered so, so much value.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.